The night in the forest had shrouded everything in its darkness, and Jack and John, settling into their tents, intended to spend a quiet evening in nature. The fire crackled, stories and laughter filled the air, but as the complete darkness fell, the atmosphere became more tense. "You know," Jack said, John, yawning and reclining on his back, "in moments like these, you remember all those spooky stories we were told as kids, like unknown creatures lurking in the woods." Jack chuckled in response, but deep down he had a feeling that this night might turn into something unusual. He looked into the dark eyes of his friend, illuminated by the fire, and suddenly realized in silence that something unknown was watching them. When the full darkness arrived, Jack and John convinced themselves to sleep, closing their tents. However, the sleep was incredibly uneasy. The rustling in the forest sounded like a menacing warning, but they dismissed it as the sounds of the night. At some point, Jack woke up to a strange light penetrating through the tent fabric. He shivered, got up, and decisively turned to look outside. Glowing red eyes met his gaze, and his heart froze in his chest. An unknown creature stood in front of John's tent. Its body was covered in strange hair, glowing like flames in the dark. Its predatory eyes never left John, who slept unsuspectingly. Jack clenched his fists, ready for a reaction. The creature slowly approached the tent, as if evaluating its future prey. Suddenly, it tore the tent fabric with a swing, engulfing it in the darkness of its body. John woke up from the noise and tried to get up, but his attempts were futile. The creature, grabbing him, disappeared into the forest, leaving only the rough breath in the air. "John," Jack shouted, but it was too late. His friend was taken by something that defied description. The formless, glowing hair shimmered against the night, and the red eyes vanished into the blackness. Without wasting time, Jack jumped out of his tent, his frozen muscles aching. The night around him became even darker, and only the faint glow of the campfire directed his steps. The creature had disappeared into the thicket, and Jack, urging himself forward, set off in pursuit of his friend. The forest embraced him, and through the branches, the leaves whispered their unknown secrets. Jack felt the tension growing with each step. The wind became chilling, as if nature itself signaled that this forest belonged to something greater than just trees and animals. Jack's path led through dense thickets, where the moon's shadow turned the trees into black silhouettes, weaving around him. In the distance, he noticed a faint glow, like fire, and moved towards it, seeing it as his last hope. He approached an open glade where the light was. In front of him stood an enormous tree, its branches reaching towards the sky, and the bark covered in strange patterns. In the center of the glade, the creature held John in its clutches. "Who are you?" Jack whispered, despite the fear squeezing his heart. The creature, rising on its hind legs, stroked John's hair, as if a mysterious connection bound them. "What do you want?" Jack continued, despite the fear gripping him. The creature, standing on its hind legs, emitted an indistinct hiss, as if nature itself expressed its disapproval. "Release him," Jack shouted, trying to suppress the trembling in his voice. The creature, letting go of John, disappeared into the darkness, taking its red-eyed glow with it. Jack knew that he couldn't defeat this creature in a direct confrontation. Instead, he prepared for one desperate move. He took out his torch and brought it to the tree covered in strange patterns. "Let him go," Jack yelled, trying to sound resolute. The torch's fire slowly began to engulf the tree bark, as if summoning its right to nature. The creature emitted a prolonged howl, and its eyes seemed to light up even brighter. The tree burned with fire, and Jack felt the mysterious connection between him and this forest starting to fade. The creature leaped off its hind legs and disappeared into the darkness, carrying the glow of its red eyes away. John remained lying on the ground, freed from the creature's grasp. Jack approached him, helping him up. The last traces of the fire were dying out, and the forest around regained its silence. But Jack knew that this night would leave an indescribable mark on his soul, like the mysterious patterns on the tree bark. They slowly headed back to their camp, feeling the eyes of the forest watching them, hiding its secrets in the darkness. Jack felt that he had become part of this forest, that mysterious forces had accepted his offer, and now he bore the responsibility for maintaining the balance between light and darkness in this Stephen King-esque woods.